Don't just stare, touch it, alien woman's command. In a small, quiet town, people went about their daily lives without much thought to the strange things happening just beyond their understanding. Life seemed to follow a predictable rhythm: work, home, a few brief moments of excitement. But for one man, this ordinary life was about to take a dramatic turn. He worked as a technician, someone who often fixed computers, machines, and all things tech-related. Nothing too exciting, but it paid the bills. His days were spent inside a sterile lab filled with wires, screens, and the occasional scientific breakthrough. The lab was controlled by a secret government division that studied alien technology. Sales and even fewer knew what really went on inside. So, one day the man received a call. It was a regular day like any other, but the voice on the other end had urgency in it. He was needed at the lab for something important. He didn't ask questions. He simply grabbed his jacket and left his apartment, the feeling of anticipation heavy in his chest. As he stepped into the lab, the air seemed different. The usual hum of the equipment was there, but there was something else. Something unseen. It was a woman, but not just any woman. She stood tall, with striking features that didn't belong to any human he had ever seen before. Her skin shimmered faintly, and her eyes glowed with an intense, almost unnatural light. She wore strange clothing that looked both ancient and futuristic at the same time, as if she had come from a time far beyond his own understanding. Breaths. She stepped forward, her gaze never leaving him. There was something both captivating and unnerving about her presence.
"I am Aelira," she said, her voice calm but carrying an authority that made his heart race.
"I have come to speak with you." Before he could respond, she extended her hand toward the table in front of her. On the table sat an unfamiliar device, sleek, metallic, and pulsing with a faint light. It seemed almost alive. "Don't just stare, touch it," Aelira said, her voice carrying a quiet command. The words echoed in his mind as he stood frozen. He wanted to ask why, what it was, what it would do. But before he could form the questions, something deep inside him pushed him forward. It was as though her words were more than just a suggestion. They felt like an order that he had no choice but to follow. He walked up to the table, his hand trembling slightly as he reached out. The moment his fingers brushed against the cool surface of the device, a strange sensation filled his body. A surge of energy, unlike anything he had ever experienced, shot through him. It was as if the entire universe had opened up to him, and for a split second he saw glimpses of places, people, and things that didn't belong on Earth. His vision blurred, and he stumbled back, gasping for air. The room seemed to spin, and the world around him faded in and out. Aelira stood still, watching him closely, but without any sign of concern. Her expression remained calm, as though she had expected this. "Are you all right?" she asked. He nodded, still reeling from the experience. What just happened?" Aelira stepped closer, her eyes softening slightly. "What you just experienced is something many will never understand. The device you touched is more than just an object. It is a key. A key that connects you to something far greater than anything you've ever known."
He blinked, still trying to process the words. "What do you mean?"
"What did I unlock?" Aelira's gaze never wavered as she spoke. "The device has chosen you. It has awakened something inside you, something that was always there, just waiting to be discovered." His heart began to race. Something inside him felt different now. He could feel it, a change, a shift. The world around him suddenly seemed brighter, as if he could understand everything in a way he never had before. Days passed, but the man couldn't shake the feeling that his life had completely changed. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of the same strange visions. The landscapes, the symbols, the foreign beings. It was as if the universe had opened up to him, showing him the intricate web that connected all things. But no matter how much he tried, he couldn't make sense of it all. One morning as he sat at his desk in the lab, Lyra returned. This time, she didn't speak immediately. She simply watched him, her presence both comforting and intimidating. "I know what you're thinking," she said after a long pause. "You're overwhelmed. You don't understand. But what you've unlocked is not something that can be easily explained. It's something that you have to experience." Bray. He looked at her, unsure of how to respond. "What am I supposed to do now?" "I don't understand any of this. I don't even know what that device was." Lyra moved closer, her eyes never leaving his. "The device is part of something much larger. It's a part of my people's technology, a technology that can change the course of history." "Bah! You have touched it, and in doing so you have connected to it. The more you learn, the more you will understand." He shook his head in disbelief. "But I'm not. I'm not one of you. I'm just a regular guy. I don't belong in this." She smiled slightly, her expression softening. "You are more than you think. The device has chosen you for a reason. You are now part of something greater. You are a bridge between worlds." He felt a mixture of fear and excitement rise within him. Desk. A part of him wanted to run, to escape from the unknown that was pulling him deeper and deeper. But another part, the part that had touched the device and felt its power, wanted to know more. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was his destiny. "What do I need to do?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Lyra studied him for a long moment before speaking again. "There are many paths ahead of you. The knowledge you have unlocked will guide you, but you must be careful. The power of the device is not meant for just anyone. It can bring both great change and great destruction. Breath. What happens next is up to you."
He nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her words settle into his chest.
There was no turning back now. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than him, bigger than anything he could have ever imagined. Lyra turned and walked toward the door. "Come with me. It's time to begin your training." He hesitated for a moment, then stood and followed her. As he stepped out of the lab, he knew his life had changed forever. He didn't know what was ahead, but he couldn't deny the pull of the unknown, of the adventure that awaited him. And somewhere deep within him a voice whispered, "The journey has just begun." As the days went by, the man couldn't stop thinking about the device and the strange woman, Lyra. He had never experienced anything like that before. The surge of energy, the visions, the feeling of being connected to something much bigger than himself. Each time he tried to focus on his normal work, he found his mind drifting back to the memories of that moment in the lab, the strange power he felt. At first he tried to brush it off as just a strange experience, something his mind had created. But deep down, he knew it wasn't just in his head. The device had done something to him, and Lyra's words echoed in his mind. "The device has chosen you." He couldn't ignore it any longer. He needed answers. One evening, when the lab was quiet, the man returned to the same room where the device had been placed. The soft glow of the equipment around him created an eerie atmosphere, but it didn't scare him. He was no longer afraid. He felt different now, stronger, more aware of the world around him. The door creaked open and Illyra stepped inside. She didn't speak at first, but her eyes met his with a knowing look, as if she understood exactly what was going through his mind. "You have questions," she said, her voice calm, but it carried a weight of understanding. He nodded, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. "What is this device? Why did it choose me?" Bursts. "And what am I supposed to do with this power now?" Aila walked toward him, her presence both calming and intense. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she took a seat beside him, her eyes fixed on his face. "The device is part of a much larger network," she began. "It connects all beings across the universe, but only those who are ready can access it. It has chosen you because you are capable of understanding and using its power. But it's not just about knowledge. It's about responsibility." He listened intently, feeling a strange sense of comfort in her words. "Responsibility? What do you mean?" She leaned forward slightly, her expression softening. "The device doesn't just unlock knowledge, it also unlocks emotions, connections, breaths. When you touched it, it bridged a gap between you and an ancient force. This power can change the course of history, but it must be handled carefully." He thought about this for a moment. He had felt the power when he touched the device. He had felt it in his body, his mind. He had seen things, understood things that he couldn't explain. But now, hearing Aelira's words, it all started to make sense. "Is that why I've been feeling so different?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Yes," Aelira said. "The power inside you is awakening. But it's not just a gift. It's a responsibility to guide and protect, to keep balance. The universe is vast, and there are forces in it that would use this power for their own gain. You must learn to control it." The man looked down at his hands, still feeling the aftershocks of the power he had unlocked. It was like a deep part of him had been awakened, and he could no longer ignore it. Aelia stood up and walked over to the table where the device rested. She placed her hand on it, and for a moment the room seemed to hum with energy. "This device is just one of many scattered across the universe. Each one connects to a different force, a different path. But the one you touched was meant for you. It's the key to unlocking the next stage in your journey." He followed her movements with his eyes, unable to look away. "What happens next?" "You will begin your training," Aelira said. "You need to learn how to control the power, how to use it wisely. The knowledge it gives you is only one part of the equation. The real test will be in your ability to control the emotions, the connections that it awakens within you." He felt a mix of fear and excitement. He wasn't sure if he was ready for this, but a part of him knew that there was no turning back. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than anything he could have imagined. He had already touched a device, already unlocked something inside him. Now, he would have to learn how to use it. As the days passed, the man's training began. Aelira taught him how to focus his mind, how to channel the power he had unlocked. It wasn't easy. Every day he felt like he was taking one step forward and 2 steps back. But with each lesson, he began to understand the device more. He could feel the connection growing stronger, the power inside him becoming more real. Breaths. Sometimes when he closed his eyes, he would see flashes of the vast universe, the stars, the planets, and the beings that lived on them. He could hear their thoughts, their emotions. It was overwhelming, but it also gave him a sense of purpose. He was part of something much larger than himself. He had a responsibility now, not just to himself, but to the universe. The man's training continued for weeks, and with each passing day he felt more connected to the device and the power it held. But it wasn't all easy. The more he learned, the more he realized just how much he didn't know. There were moments when he felt overwhelmed by the weight of it all, when he wanted to give up and walk away. But Illyra was always there, guiding him, reminding him of the importance of his mission. One day Illyra took him to a secluded part of the lab, a place he had never seen before. The walls were lined with ancient symbols, and the air seemed thicker, almost heavy with energy. Breaths. "This is where it all began," she said, her voice reverberating in the stillness. "This is the heart of the power you've unlocked." The man looked around, his heart racing. He could feel the energy in the room, the pull of it, and it made him uneasy.
"What is this place?" he asked.
"This is where the first device was created," Illyra explained. "This is where the connection to the universe was first established. The energy in this room is unlike anything you felt before. It's the source of everything." The man stepped closer, his hand outstretched. As soon as his fingers brushed the wall, a rush of energy flooded his body. Breath. This time it was stronger, more intense than anything he had experienced. He gasped, feeling the power coursing through him, connecting him to something ancient and vast. "This is the true power of the device," Illyra said, watching him carefully. "But you must learn to control it. If you let it consume you, it will destroy you. Power is meant to be a guide, not a master." He pulled his hand back, panting. "You will," Illyra said softly. "It's in you." Breath. "Trust yourself." The man nodded slowly, trying to steady his breath. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same. Power he had unlocked, the connection to the universe. It was just the beginning. There was much more to come, and he would have to be ready. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew he couldn't turn back now. He had already stepped into the unknown, and there was no way out. With a deep breath, he looked at Illyra. She smiled, a knowing look in her eyes. "Break. Then let's begin." And so, the next chapter of his journey began. The man was no longer just a technician in a quiet town, but he was now part of something much larger, a force that could shape the future of the universe itself. Whatever came next, he knew he was ready to face it head-on. Breaths. As weeks turned into months, the man's connection to the device grew stronger, and so did his understanding of the vast power it contained. Every day was a challenge, a new step into the unknown. He often felt like he was walking on the edge of something huge, something far greater than he had ever imagined, but with Illyra's guidance he learned to navigate it. His training wasn't just about understanding the device or learning how to control the power it granted him. It was also about learning to trust himself, to embrace the unknown, and to accept the responsibility that came with this newfound power. There were times when he doubted himself, when the weight of it all felt too much to bear. But Illyra was always there, reminding him of his purpose, pushing him to grow stronger, and teaching him how to focus his mind. The man found that as his connection to the device deepened, he could sense things he never could before. He could feel the energy of the universe flowing around him, the connections between all living things, the faint echoes of distant stars and planets. He could sense emotions, thoughts, and intentions, not just from humans but from beings across the universe. It was overwhelming at times, but it also made him feel incredibly alive, as though he were part of something much larger than himself. One day Illyra took him to a new part of the lab. This room was different from all the others. It was quiet, almost sacred in its stillness, and the air felt thick with power. The walls were covered with intricate markings, symbols from an ancient language the man could not understand. It was here that Illyra explained the next stage of his training. "This is the heart of the power," Illyra said, her voice low and serious. "You are now ready to take the next step. You must learn to understand the balance of this power, to control not only the energy that flows through you, but the connections it creates. The universe is vast, and this power can either heal or destroy. It depends on how you use it." Breaths. The man listened carefully, absorbing every word. He had learned a great deal over the past months, but he knew this was the most important lesson yet. He could feel the weight of the responsibility that Illyra had spoken of, the immense potential of the power that he now wielded. It was both a gift and a burden, and he needed to learn how to carry it. Illyra stood beside him, her eyes scanning the symbols on the walls. "The power you have unlocked is not just about the device. It's about the energy that connects all things. Every action you take, every thought you have, creates a ripple in the fabric of the universe. You must learn to control these ripples, to understand their consequences." The man looked around the room, his heart racing. The symbols on the walls seemed to come alive, glowing faintly as if they were responding to the power within him. It was as if the room itself was alive, a living entity that could feel the energy he was beginning to understand. He placed his hand against one of the symbols, and the moment he did, a flood of images filled his mind. He saw galaxies spinning, stars being born and dying, and entire worlds changing. He saw life, thousands of different forms of life, each one unique, each one connected by the same energy that flowed through him. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a vast web of existence that stretched beyond his comprehension. When the images faded, the man pulled his hand back, breathless. He had seen the universe in a way he never could have imagined, and it had changed him. The power, the connection. It was all so much more than he had ever expected. He had always thought of the universe as just the space around him, something distant and separate. But now he understood that it was all connected, that everything, from the smallest particle to the largest star, was intertwined in a delicate balance. Illyra watched him closely, her expression unreadable.
"You see now," she said softly.
Breaths. The universe is not just a place. It is a living, breathing thing. And the power you hold is a part of that life. You are now a part of the universe's balance. Inspiration. The man nodded, feeling both awe and fear. He had seen the vastness of the universe, but he also knew how fragile it was. He had a responsibility now, not just to himself, but to everything around him. Every choice he made, every action he took, would have consequences. Back. He had to be careful. Illyra stepped closer, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. You have come far, but the journey is not over. The power you hold is still growing, and with it comes more challenges. But you must learn to protect yourself, to defend the balance, and to stand strong in the face of those who would use this power for their own gain.
The man looked at her, determination filling his chest.
Inspiration. I understand. I won't let it control me. I will control it. Illyra smiled, her eyes reflecting a mix of pride and something else, something deeper, something that spoke of the trials that lay ahead. I know you will, but remember, the path you've chosen is not easy. There will be those who will try to use you, who will try to take the power for themselves. You must be ready to stand against them. The man took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words settle into his heart. He was no longer just a man from a small town, no longer just a technician. He was something more now. A bridge between worlds, a protector of the balance, a guardian of the power that flowed through him. "I'm ready," he said, his voice steady. Aelira nodded, her gaze softening. "Then let's begin the next step. You are not alone in this. We are all connected." As they left the room, the man couldn't help but feel a sense of purpose deep within him. He was no longer the same person who had walked into that lab months ago. He had changed, grown, and embraced the power within him. The universe was vast, and he had only just begun to understand it. But he knew one thing for sure. He was ready for whatever lay ahead. The journey had only just begun, and he would face it with strength, courage, and the knowledge that he was part of something much bigger than himself.